Spelling Safari tutorial for parents and students, created by Tutoring with Sheryl.
This video is for any students that are using Spelling Safari inside of Tutoring with Sheryl. And especially for my brand new students who have not used it before, this is just to help you understand the process. The very first thing is that Spelling Safari is an automated spelling service that I use inside of my tutoring practices to help my students become confident spellers. Many times when students are learning how to spell or just even learning how to write, they get stuck because they don't know what letter sounds. And I have other systems in place that will help them learn how to actually read and write, but sometimes this spelling is the part that gets them stuck. And one thing that I've set up for families is the automated service that you can log into Spelling Safari anytime, whether you're in a lesson with me or outside of our time, and you can continue practicing spelling. So once your student has done the initial diagnostic and then has created their first list with me for the very first time, they can go back in and they can work on spelling lists. And this is what I wanted to share with you today. So I'm just going to quickly share my screen with you, and I made a practice student account. So when I send the link over to your child, you will see that they will open it up under Spelling Safari, and you'll see a sign up or a login. And all you want to do is push the login. Okay. Now, for my practice student, I made myself my first name Practice and my last name the number 1, so that my student login will be my first name with my first letter of my last name. So in my case, it will be Practice 1. If we were using my actual name, it would be Sheryl U. So think about your child's first name and last initial, and that should work. So we're going to come over here to student login. If they go to educator login, they're not an educator. It's going to say wrong stuff. Okay. So we're going to go in here to student login. Okay. And I'm actually going to use Practice 1 because I just made the new student. And then I'm going to tab over and push, type the word spell, S-P-E-L-L, all lowercase, and then push login. Okay. And I'm not going to save. You can't see it on my screen, but on my screen it says save the password. And as long as everything's correct, you can say yes. Otherwise, if you don't, then it's always going to be wrong. So it'll just be crazy. So when they initially get in here, they're going to push get started. Okay. So we're going to push get started, and it starts with this spelling assessment. And what is happening is this is going to create this list of words, and this is the same list for every single student. And they're going to come in here and they have to go through every single one of these and practice. They're going to just be practicing, and typing in what they think the word should sound like. And they're going to feel slightly frustrated because they're going to be like, well, why aren't you helping me? Well, I don't want to help them because I want the system to know what level they're working at. Like, I have to really bite my tongue when I come in here and do this. Now I'm going to switch over to another student who has actually used this with me. Okay. And we're going to come in here and see how she's doing. Okay. So once you get through the assessment, okay, and you've gone all the way through everything, then you take it a second time and you generate a list. Okay. And so this is the list that she's currently working on. Okay. And once she's in the list, she can go to the watering hole. Okay. And in the watering hole, she has to do 3 required activities listed down here below in this section. And then she has to do 1 practice test before she can actually take the test part. So each one of these activities is set up in a different way. So we'll just take a quick peek at each one. To crack the code, she would have to look at the code letters up here. And so down here, there's the @ symbol, and she'd have to look at the @ symbol and she'd type a C. And then she'd look for the number 9, and she'd find the number 9, and she'd put an L there. Well, having their list handy is super helpful. So what I do is before we ever play any games, we actually write the list down correctly so that they can quickly type the words out. Usually after the first 2 letters, they can fill it in themselves. So that's one of them. And you can also turn the timer off on any of those. Then letter hunt. When they go to do letter hunt, I encourage them to turn off the timers on any activities. But they come over here and it will tell them.
The store clerk greeted customers warmly as they entered the shop.
It will tell them. And so it just said spell clerk. It read the sentence, and then they go C-L-E-R. R. So let's see. Should have another letter in here, clerk. Oh, no, just K. Sorry. And then you push correct and go on.
The
And she's
store
going to
clerk
come in and
greeted
go, wait, I
customers
already
warmly.
answered that one. So we're going to come out over here. Then we've got monkey mix-up. Okay. And I always tell the kids, if you can change the level to beginner, that you should do that. And we're going to come over here and push start.
Spell. Cues. Pay attention to the subtle cues the actor gives during the play.
Okay, and so then she would type in the word cues and push next. I'm just going to exit out of this because I want to show you all these. Speed spell. Again, turn off the timer if you'd like.
Spell. Break.
And they can always come back over here and hear the word again.
Break.
And then once they type it, push the green button, or they can push enter on most of those, and that actually ends up working. Spelling Storm's a little bit more challenging. I would definitely set this to beginner. It goes quite quickly. I would turn off the timer. When you push start, what you have to do is you have to click the letters on the raindrops to form the word in the correct order. And some screens, you have to scroll down just a little bit to see all of it. So not all screens are set at this size.
Comb.
So you might have to actually
She
come
used
down a little bit.
comb to style her hair for the party.
COMB. Okay, and then you push next
Spell.
and go on.
Wrist.
Okay, so we'll exit out of that one. And then we have termite triangles. Some of my kids really love this. This is where they start with a letter and then they build the letter and keep going, or the words to keep going.
Spell. Scent.
Okay, so
the flowers in the garden had a
type
sweet scent that
S
filled
and then
the air.
SC and then SCE and then SCEN, SCENT. And some kids love it and some kids hate it. Okay.
Correct.
So I'm going to hop out of that
flowers
one. And then I don't believe I've done trail tracker. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put that on beginning. He says, use your word knowledge to track down an animal. Choosing the correct letter will help you get closer to finding the animal. Solve a word before you run out of tries to track the animal down. For each word, click the letter button or type the letter on the keyboard to guess a letter in the word. Let's track down an animal. The store greeted customers warmly as they entered the shop. Okay, so that must be clerk, CLER.
There's more tracks. Your tufts of fur are snagged on a branch.
I'm lost here. Where's the K? I shouldn't probably looking right at it. Okay, and so they can listen to the whole thing. This actually
down a giraffe.
Drove me crazy when I helped it with a student with this, and this was not good for somebody with sensory issues. So I probably wouldn't choose this one. That's the one that I'm not super happy with. And then word hunt is, and I would always change it to beginner, is just a word search where they're looking for their words and the list is up above. Okay, so what they have to do is they have to do 3 practices before they take their practice test. Okay, and
Next so comb. She used a fine-tooth comb to style her hair for the party.
The nice part about this is you can go through and you type the word and we'll give them direct feedback on whether or not they got it right or not. And I don't even know how to exit that one at this point. So let me just plop over here and push escape. Spelling Safari. There we go. Okay. And then once they've done all 3 practices on 3 of those activities, then they can take the test. But this button won't become active until they take the test. Okay, and depending on how many times they've been in here, we'll tell you where their spelling skills are. And this is a grade level 2 speller, and that they've learned 14 words since the last time they were in here, with a total of 68 words that have been covered. And then each time they come in, they unlock a new base level camp. And some of my students have already finished all of this and they're doing different things, but this just happened to be kind of an earlier speller so that I could share that information with you. Okay, so hopefully you're going to understand how to use Spelling Safari. My apologies. I always say that wrong because that used to be something that I actually used with students that I don't use anymore. I use Spelling Safari. But I like this because there's enough AI in the background that it will generate words based on what spelling patterns they know, and then give them spelling patterns that they don't know. And so you're probably going to go, oh my gosh, this doesn't make any sense at all, but it actually does. And this has literally sped up my students' writing ability. So check out Spelling Safari if your student's already in the program. Use it as often as you want. I would say 10 minutes a couple times a week, and you're going to see huge difference. I would love to say that I've got time to work on that at every single lesson that I have with your child, but to be quite honest, I don't because we're working on so many things. So please, please, please hop into that. Keep them working on that so that they can build their independence and become an independent speller outside of our time together. Thank you.